Live stream. All right. All right.
Okay.
Welcome. Welcome to the Reason Why podcast. This is your girl, Reinvented, with my homegirl, Camille. And we are coming to you live for this live dope episode. We're about to unpack the Wendy Williams, the Wendy Williams documentary, and just discuss it and discuss how it correlates to the mental health aspect. We're going into digging into her childhood and how that all of that streams, her unresolved trauma that she dealt with through a child, how that streamed into her adult life. So without further ado, welcome to the show. This is Camille. I want to know if you want to introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Camille. Here in Atlanta from Connecticut. I'm joining in with Ree, and we about to get into this live to talk about Wendy Williams.
So I don't know what's up with the audio now.
Yeah, you hear it like echoing a little bit?
Let me see. Can you hear me? Can I hear you?
You can hear. I can hear you, but I still hear the echo.
I know you got another device. You got to move another device. That's what it is. If you got multiple devices, yeah, that's the interference from if you buy a laptop and the phone. Let me see.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
How about now?
Still,
I still hear it.
yeah. What about now? That is a cute blouse that you have on, by the way.
Thank you.
It is really cute. Yeah, so if you have a laptop or something that's close by, you gotta separate that.
Okay, let me.
Actually, put my, yeah. So, welcome to the show. We are, if you're joining us live, we are here to discuss the Wendy Williams documentary and of all of it, child, all of it. One, I would like to say that I was really saddened by what I saw on that documentary. It was really hard to watch. Then by seeing the documentary, I actually went a little further and dug a little deeper into her personal life and the origins of Wendy. How she
Right.
came about, what she what made her become this, because we know this Wendy Williams as like this big gossiper, messy, all of
Right.
that stuff. So I wanted to learn a little bit more about her. So yeah, so I went a little deeper into it. What about you?
Of course, I was sad. I actually cried a little bit to see her like that. I wasn't really a fan of Wendy. She wasn't really somebody that I would watch all the time. But just watching that documentary, it really
Right.
touched home in a lot of different ways. And just seeing that she had people around her that I felt like she didn't have anyone that really cared about her.
Same.
um
Yeah.
and just so I started myself looking into it and
Hmm.
wanted to discuss it.
All right. Um, so she's been known for her candidness on her talk show and all of that, her super openness and everything. She's even been openness about her struggles. in regards to the mental health and the self-esteem. So I thought that that was pretty cool because I didn't know anything about that. You know, you just see this big, like, you know, um, you
Her
see the
block.
outside demeanor, you know, you see
Right.
this like, oh, what is up with her? You know, she's like super aggressive, super this and that. So I was really, really surprised to see that she was opening up about certain areas in her life. So throughout the documentary, what were some of the key moments that shed light on the correlation with Wendy Williams, her childhood experiences, and like her adult struggles? Do you
So like
think?
you said, you know, like before the documentary she just recently did even took place, there was a book she wrote, and it talked and that's when she started, you know.
Oh, really? I didn't
Yeah.
see any. I didn't read
and
anything about her book. Okay, cool.
and so that's when she started talking about her childhood and how you know, she dealt with her self esteem, her being overweight as a kid, um
Oh,
and her she's in the book she says her father was the first, you know, your father's supposed to be the first man that you love.
yeah.
And her father said to her one day, you know, Wendy, you would be pretty only if you would lose some weight.
Oh,
So that, yeah,
wow.
so that kind of like, you know, imagine your father, somebody that, you know, you love and like your first man that you in love. So, and he says that to you, it really bothered her, you know?
Oh.
So it started from that. And then her mom,
Mhm.
her mom was very, very, she said things like, her mom teased her. Like, you know, Wendy, you're getting big, or you're really big, or
Right.
and most of the time like compared her to her sister, and her sister was the image of her mom, like, you know, so that made her feel left out. Like that's my part of it, like saying
What's the image of her mom? Like, what do you mean? Like,
so, okay, she was raised in very high class, right? Her mom took trips to Paris. Her mom lived a good life. They were very like, you know, high class people. So,
oh,
and in her book, she said she had the perfect life, right? So, so her family, they were well off. They were, um, you know, they were good people. Like they were well off for themselves. So
yeah.
her mom, her sister was more like, she called her the cotillion, like she was, you know, pretty and the image of her mom, whereas Wendy was overweight, her height, you know, insecure about all of this stuff, and her parents aren't doing any justice because they're teasing her, they're comparing her to her mom, I mean to her sister, and it's like, now what do you do?
Yeah. Wow. Um, so down on that, like, how do you think her parents' views on her weight um influenced her self-esteem and her body image growing up?
Of course, it lowered her self-esteem because they one thing she said in the book, not only her parents, her teachers. So it's now she's dealing with the fact that her parents are weighing her every week. They're making her get on a scale, and and they're putting her on this strict diet. She's on a diet. She can't eat snacks. She can't eat regular stuff like normal kids. She can't have a normal childhood. You
Right.
know what I mean? Because they're so fixed on her, how big she is and everything else. They're not letting her be normal. So she has to deal with this at home. Now she goes to school, and her teacher weighs her in front of the class and humiliates her. And she says, like, this is the most embarrassing time of my childhood. So not only has to deal with this at home with her parents, she's dealing with this at school with the teachers,
Right.
her classmates. That has to be a lot.
That is. Like, I can't even imagine that.
Yeah, so it's
Um,
like it really like lowered her self-esteem and her confidence, like, you know. And so she said she was labeled as the outcast always.
right. And dealing with that kind of stuff growing up, like the pressures, I mean, just the pressures of life and all of that. Well, I really want to you know, go into like where the teacher, by the teacher doing that to her. I mean,
Hmm.
that right there, it, as a kid, you know, going through that kind of stuff as a kid, and hearing that shame from your dad, like you
Mhm.
said, and from your mom. They put her on all these diets. It was like a tuna diet, a no bread diet, all of those kind of things, and
Mhm.
putting her on the scale. Those things already contributed to her lower self esteem and her lower self worth. Like now she's sitting there trying to figure out, what role she plays in life, like where she fits in.
Right.
She don't even fit in at home.
She don't
And
fit it at
then
home.
now
She
you're
don't fit it
saying
at
even with this
school.
sister situation, like now you don't even fit in with your sibling. Like
Your
that's
sibling.
got to be,
Mhm.
a rough situation there. Like that's crazy. Um Now the documentary prompt viewers to reflect on their own childhood experiences. How do you think the Wendy Williams story encourages conversation in regards to that mental health and family communities and things like that?
Well, because of what we're talking about right now, like
Yeah.
most of the time it stems from the childhood. It stems from undiagnosed trauma,
Yep.
and things that because even in her the book she talked about had bedwetting, like, so that was a sign right there that something at 12, I must say, not because everybody, kids, they go through that stage, but at 12 and 13 you should not still be wetting the bed.
Right.
So apparently there was something already there that they never paid attention to. They never, like, they were, her mom said, "Oh, Wendy, you're wetting the bed because you're overweight and your bladder's weighing, it's not." So she's putting everything onto her with her weight and not realizing something's wrong. She's mentally, you know what I mean? So
Something is definitely wrong. Like
exactly.
it's like, I mean, even with the so she also went into the issue of her being in special ed
Yes.
and
Right.
having being in special ed classes. And okay, so now dealing with special ed, having a difficulty learning, and then being in special ed, and wetting the bed all the way up through 12 years old. That right there is an undiagnosed situation that nobody ever really like addressed what was really going on with her. And us in the Black community, you know we'll like to find, maybe like shame and all of that stuff will allow us to have our kid go undiagnosed
Right.
because we can't deal with the truth of, something
What's
might be
really the
really
underlying
wrong with our
issue?
child.
Right.
When we catch it at an early
Mm-hmm.
age, we can really go and, kind of help them along and give them the type of guidance and resources that they're going to need to be, successful in life. So,
Mm-hmm.
and to avoid those struggles and feeling left out. So she's already super tall. I can relate to that. Being,
Mm-hmm.
I was so tall, I had to stand in the back of the classroom, in the back of the line, when you line up by height or whatever, and I got to stand behind the boys. So it was
Right.
like now the boys are looking at me like, oh, da, da, da.
Yes.
So I always had a issue in regards to my height. And I also had an issue in regards to my weight. I was skin and bones. I was
Mm-hmm.
super skinny, so it was like, I had those type of self-esteem
Insecure.
issues
Right.
where I didn't
Mm-hmm.
want, yeah, and it's like I didn't, anytime someone shined light on those issues that I was insecure about, it was like I would clam up and, all of that stuff. So it was
Right.
like, so I can definitely relate to her. So bedwetting is also often associated with feeling of shame and embarrassment.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think Wendy's experience with bedwetting impact her self-esteem and her mental well-being during childhood? Like, I
Of
mean,
course, being embarrassed by her siblings and knowing that she's doing this and
at 12 years old, just imagine at 12 years old. I remember 12 years old very vividly. I
right.
mean, I was a serial runaway. So by 12 years old, I was already running away. I had already ran away several times.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a pretty much sense of self, or at least, who we think we are at that preteen
Right.
age, when you
Right.
start, going through puberty and that kind of stuff, all of your hormones going crazy. So, I mean, now she's going through all of that stuff and she's peeing in the bed and she have a sister that's living in a household that she's, being
Being
compared to,
compared to,
and that she
and
doesn't size up to this sister because, obviously the sister wasn't wet in the bed. The
right.
sister wasn't in special ed classes. They said they were in like, private schools or like good schooling,
Yes.
this whole time. But even in the private school, she was in special ed classes
Right.
and
Yeah.
dealing with these self-esteem issues, being tall, wet in the bed. I mean, automatically as a
And
kid, I feel like she should have been sent, I started going to the village, a children village. I mean, when I was like 10, 11 years old. I remember my
right.
mother put me in when I was running away. My mother locked me up into the adolescent psych ward thing up at Mount Sinai Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm like in the maybe seventh grade, maybe the end of sixth grade, early seventh grade. So I was like young, and then I was going to family children. So at some point, a parent is supposed to know that something is going on with their child, and that these
Exactly.
are not abnormal. They're displaying, um, you know, symptoms that's not normal. These are
It's
not
not.
normal child issues. So
So,
I
and not
think,
to cut you off, but
go ahead.
another major part of her childhood, she didn't have any friends.
She didn't.
She had not one friend. She didn't have any friends because um everybody was, teasing her, and they thought she was this big giant, and she never had a friend.
What is
So
that? What is a punch with both hands?
we'll
Hold
talk
on.
about
I'm
that
sorry. Somebody
later.
said, "Can you do?" They said, "You guys are good." Shree,
Oh,
can you do a punch with both hands, like in boxing? Like, what is that? I guess this.
that's the love. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
this thing.
Yeah.
Oh, oh! I
Uh,
didn't know that. Oh, thank you, Lamar. That's pretty cool. I didn't know that worked like that. That's cool. Um, but yeah, that's so sad when I found
that's
that
it,
out about
because
her.
like you said, at that age we went to school together, so you know how important it is to have friends or to be accepted by. That's when you start. Most of my friends are my in seventh grade, eighth grade. You know what I'm saying?
That's
That's
when
when
you
you
start getting, yes.
right. So imagine her not. She didn't have none of that.
So that would make sense why she's like, oh, I did see a part where she's like, they're gonna go get on the radio when they finally talk. She was like, they're gonna know who you are. I was
Hmm.
like, go, Wendy, because that's what I
Yes.
said. I'm like, these folks gonna know who I am.
Hmm.
It's reinvented. Listen.
Yeah.
No, so that right there, I was like, oh, okay, but I did not correlate it back to her not having any friends and
So
having all that.
once we get further into the whole detail, we'll talk about what became her friend and who became her friend.
Right. Okay. Okay. I could see that. Wow, that's crazy. So yeah, that's crazy how, and I remember even in one of the things watching her, she was like, I don't need no psychologist. I don't need no, I don't need no therapy. And I'm sitting there like, just what you're doing right
Right
now,
now, right?
you need
You do.
therapy. Like it was
Right.
like whatever the argument that they were in, it was like, girl, you need therapy. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um so now throughout the documentary, Wendy reflected on her journey towards self-acceptance. How do you think like her upbringing with her parents, the teachers, the kid, like all of that, like how does that now play a role into the self-acceptance? Like, because now she and now you're saying she didn't even have any friends. So now it's like all of this stuff, and now so it makes sense when I look at her now. I'm like, why would she do this? She did it like a little Kim, when they all do that disfiguring their body, like you was really pretty. And then now, like you did this to yourself, like why? But then when you're dealing with the inner conflicts that's
Because
going on.
she talked about how being perfect, perfectionist is an illusion, right? And so she felt like she kept saying that her life was perfect as a child because that's what her mom, the image that they wanted her to portray. Like, they have all this money, they take these trips, her father owns all this land, all of this stuff. So now as she gets into her adult life, she's like, she got a lot of catching up to do because she
Right.
felt like she was faking her happiness. She was faking this perfect life. She wasn't happy at all.
Right.
So now she got to do whatever necessary. Was you know?
So, um, it touches on her, like, the struggles with her self-image and her confidence. How do you think the relationship with her sister contributed to that?
Well, she didn't really. She
So did they tell anything about
Okay,
the
so they
sister?
when in the book she didn't really talk about much about the sister, but from her, shows and stuff. Or matter of fact, when her mom died, they called her sister, and she's like, no one ever calls me. You need to call my sister. Like, she was heartbroken, but she referred everything back to her sister because apparently her mom and her sister had this tighter bond than her and her mom. So she didn't say much anything bad about the sister, but it was always like, yeah, my sister's beautiful. My sister's more like my mom, and that's them. Like, so as she got older, she kind of like separated
Wow.
herself from the sister and the mom.
That's that's pretty sad. That's pretty sad. Um so in that regard, how does the portrayal of her sister in the documentary shape, do you think, the viewer's perception of, like, sister comparison?
Um,
Like, how, like, I even read something where it was like, how her sister's life is, like, so private and so different, from hers, and where hers is, like, maybe out in public's eye, and now, like, maybe the sister could have gone through something, a lot worse than, a failed marriage, or, that kind of stuff. But the fact that her
but
sister's
she
life is
was
not in
right,
the public
right,
limelight, you know,
right.
um, so I wonder if that plays a factor on, certain aspects of it too. That's
Yeah, we
pretty
have to find out
interesting.
because I don't even know. Like, even when she did the interview, I didn't see the sister at all. Like, where is the sister?
I have a
Like,
lot of
at this
questions.
stage in your sister's life, your sister's going through this, right? And you're not around at all.
That's why it's like, wow, that's a little weird.
Yeah,
Like, that's, I
we'll have
mean,
to find out.
yeah.
Where's the sister?
Okay. Right.
where where are the siblings?
Um, and I wonder if that, I wonder if that, like, have people, the viewers, kind of looking at their own lives on, like, how they reflect it back on comparing to sibling comparison. You know what I mean? Like, cuz I always say, like, I didn't have a sister to compare anything to. Like, I grew up with brothers. So I never really understood the dynamic of sister comparison, and somebody has to be, the favorite. Somebody has to be like the smart one. Somebody has to be the not so smart one. With her having all of those issues, I'm pretty sure that worked out. Like, with me, with my brothers, I never really had that. But when I see, other women, and they're dealing, I'm like, wow, what does that mean? Like, you know, what did you go through with the sister that caused you to display those type of behaviors in comparison to just somebody in the room? You know what I mean? Like,
Right,
it brings up, other stuff, later in life. Like, I know my
right,
younger brother, I was a little jealous of him, when he was born, because he took the attention of my mom away from me, the mom, that I was trying to get from so much. So when he came around, it was like I wasn't really trying to accept too much of him, like, you know what I mean? Because it was like, that's my mother, so
right.
that kind of stuff. So I always wonder how that sibling thing kind of show a manifest in other people's lives.
Right.
um so in regards to, like, oh, that's the like, with her feeling inadequate in life. So now get into, like, what's causing her to, get to on the path that she was on. So then it goes to, she had some issues where she didn't really, um she had some unresolved conflicts. She had some unresolved, where she had been assaulted, you know what I mean? And
Right.
that,
Hmm.
the date, yep, and that's I mean, it's like she just went on with life after that, you
Cause
know.
because okay, she went through all of this stuff with, her mom, the school, her not having no friends, her siblings, and so now as an adult, now she just wants to be accepted. And
Right.
she already in the book she talks about how she already has an image of what she wants to be. She already knew she wanted to be seen,
Right.
right? She wanted to be seen, she wanted to be heard, she wanted a thug. She wanted
Right.
a thug. She didn't want nobody quiet. She didn't want to live that bougie, quiet life anymore. She wanted to be seen.
Right. Oh, Nikki, we're talking about Wendy Williams.
So we're
We're
talking about
unpacking the Wendy Williams um documentary. So please share your thoughts in regards to that. We're correlating the Wendy story back to
her trauma.
childhood traumas, and how they mentioned like she was wet in the bed at 12 years old, how she was in special education. She said, okay, now I'm in. Yo, shut up. So how she was in special ed. So we're really unpacking how that correlated to, getting into later in life where she obviously started doing like the substance abuse and stuff like that. And then the acceptance, looking for love in all the wrong places, then getting into this mirror. We'll get into that later. It looks like due to timing we'll end up doing a multi-part series on this. So it looks like tonight we're only going to be able to get on the childhood traumas and down to the so far we've talked about the what have we talked about, the sibling
Mm-hmm.
comparison. Oh, shut. Okay, sorry. The sibling comparison. We've talked about the weight shame from the teacher and the parents, the mother and the father, telling her she might be a you know a you know she might be cuter if she lost some weight. You know what I mean? We also went on to
So
discussing the you what?
So no, I'm just going to piggyback on what you're saying
Okay.
because we are basically we haven't gotten to the actual documentary part, right? We're leading up to what led her to all of the substance abuse, wanting to be loved and the marriage
Mm-hmm.
and all of that. We're talking about her childhood right now, right? So we haven't got into the full documentary that was aired on Lifetime yet.
Right.
Okay.
And I want to read what Nikki said because I totally agree. She said, I can totally see where those things would place her in the space where she feels comfortable attacking other people because hurt people definitely hurt people. And that's
Exactly.
exactly
What we
why
right,
we're even getting on it because
right.
a lot of people are, they're shaming her and they're like, oh yeah, the karma and all of this. And I do believe what goes around comes around, but from a compassionate, mindset and coming from childhood trauma myself and being a toxic adult as I was dealing with and before I was learning how to unpack and navigate through that trauma. So I can kind of relate to, her story and growing up and being a, sort of a toxic adult, without unpacking some of that stuff. So I wanted to just talk about how, all of these childhood issues could very much have led to the issues that she's having now as an adult, even with the dementia. Because further as we go into the show, which might not be tonight, we might have to do it on the next part where I want to show how childhood trauma and um, uh, different different bouts of trauma throughout life can also lead to dementia.
Right. Right,
And
because we
the
talked about
science, the
undiagnosed
science connected,
trauma. Right.
yep, how science connect the two together, not just lead to dementia, how stress can lead to Alzheimer's and all of that. Like there's really a fine line between all of this stuff and why we need to protect our peace, especially
Yes.
while we're young and healthy and vibrant. You see those people that's like, out of their mind when they get older. But when you really look at it, there's, like I was saying, and again, we'll get to that on a later thing, but they found that there is for the people who was diagnosed with dementia,
Mm-hmm.
they can find a time in their life and pinpoint a time in their life where there was a traumatic event that
Okay.
could have occurred there. So just wanted to catch you up, on what we've been talking about, and how Wendy's story coordinates to the to the mental health aspect of it. We also got onto the sister comparison. We got on the weight shame and things like that, and now we're getting on to the assault and the unresolved issues that she was having, even after that. So like she went into like the assault, and then she went on about her life, and she was like, yeah, nothing. It was like nothing ever happened.
She
Um,
she, she talks about how she did not tell anybody because she thought that they were going to blame her. They thought,
right.
of course, maybe she
And I
was.
have a relatable story like that.
Hmm.
So when I heard her say that, I was like, wow. Because I wasn't even able to tell my story until way after I was grown and everything. And I just looked at it as like a one night stand, because it was like a younger dude. He just really wanted to have sex, and I wasn't going for it. But then when I realized the position that I put myself in to and be that, I was like, I felt ashamed and I was embarrassed, and I didn't want to tell anybody because I felt like they were going to be like, I was hot or whatever the case is,
Right.
how they people judge you or whatever. So
So, go ahead. I'll get in
no, go
after.
ahead.
So before, okay, so she had the date rape, but let's talk about how I told you she had no friends, right?
Okay.
So when she got to college, right? Of course, she's a loner. She's in college, and
Hmm.
her best friend. She calls her best friend. So she is Coke. She calls her best friend Coke. So
I
now,
did see that. I did.
so she's getting high every day, right? And this her new best friend. She has no
Right.
friends. And then she realizes that the Coke is making her lose weight. So now she's on a Coke diet.
Now she's using that to maintain her weight. I do remember that. I was like, yo, this is crazy.
Right. So that she was now she has something to help her. Now, because you remember we talked about how her weight was the problem. Now she thinks the Coke's
That that's
controlling this
the that's
problem.
the that's the solution. Yep.
Right. Right. So that led up to her meeting the guy. What was his name? I can't remember.
That was Eric Sermon
Okay. So
from
that led up.
EPMD.
Okay, that led up to
Allegedly.
him, right? Because they're all doing coke, right? So she gets to the hotel, and he tells her he's gonna change, but he had to have a whole nother game plan for her. But this is all leading up to her
Oh,
lifestyle.
no, no, no. Oh, not that dude. Oh, you talking about that. That was the dude, Shedrick. He said he's no longer here. I thought you were that's yeah, we didn't get to the EPMD thing yet. It
Okay,
was
yeah,
a
that's what you.
dude, it was an
Okay,
old
right.
it was an
Right.
old artist that was out in the 80s, or what she said, the late 80s or something like that, or early 90s. Yeah, that's who did that to her, who SA'd her.
Yes.
Um But yeah, so yeah, getting to the coke diet, like she was like, when she said she was, she can eat whatever, she didn't have to do it. She was like, oh, this is great. I was like,
Hmm.
come on, Wendy, get it together now, get it together. So yeah, so that's where it was like, oh my gosh, this girl is she's spiraling out of control. Um, so that's where I was gonna get to. Uh, the her experiences with the assault. Um, how do you think that traumatic event impacted her mental health, um, and contributed to her struggles with the substance abuse, and I mean, and with the with the identity issues. I mean, when you really unpack it, like she had a lot of stuff going on.
She
Not the
did.
green eye being the
She really did have a lot of things going on. I don't really know how to answer that question because I don't I don't really know how to answer that one.
So, I would say, in my opinion, her experiences with the assault and how that traumatic event impacted her certain things because of the fact that she suppressed it, the fact that she
Okay,
held it in.
right. Okay, yeah.
By holding it
You didn't
in. So
tell
one thing,
anybody.
as I unpack, mental health, and the more that I learn and study and get my certifications, I realize that the more that we hold on to
Mhm.
these hurtful things, they hurt. You don't want nobody to know. It's painful, it's shameful, it's embarrassing, it's all of that stuff. But it's
Mhm.
like, when I was going through it, when I was trying to hold and keep all of those secrets, what I found out, I called it dumping.
Mhm.
And I would go like way on the other side of town, way where it's like complete stranger. You will never be able to figure out, how to get back to me or how to get what I'm about to tell you to the people that I know that's going to embarrass me. So I would go and find these strangers way out somewhere, and I would just dump on them. Like I would,
Mhm.
how people like to love to talk, and they
Right.
want to,
Right.
hey girl, how you doing? And I would just, go through it, and then I would dump. And by the time they would sit there, it would be like, but and I felt so bad, but it was like, man, afterward I felt so good. I was like,
Right.
oh
Right.
gosh, I got it off. Like, so once I found out how lighter my load get every time I go and dump,
Mhm.
I was like, this shit is working. So
Right.
the more that I learn about mental health and talk therapy and just getting it out, it's like if you don't let it in and you suppress it, you carrying that weight. So that weight, keeping those secrets of that stress, it turns into it causes diseases and stuff in your body. It ages you. It makes you
Mm.
older. It makes you. This is science. This is not
Wow.
me. Like, do your own research on
Mhm.
what the body, the symptoms that the body goes through by
Mhm.
keeping secrets and holding traumatic and painful experiences. So my
Mm.
thing is to our viewers and whoever is out there watching, you feel ashamed to talk to the people that you know, and you feel, you embarrassed, you don't want nobody to know because you don't want them to go tell your business. And I get it.
Mhm.
Go find somebody to get this shit off. Put it a message in a bottle, send it out, whatever the case is, but get it
Right.
out of you, because holding on to it and keeping those secrets and all the energy that you use to keep those secrets and make sure don't nobody know this thing, that's what's gonna take remove years from your life.
Mhm.
So when, as it relates to this question, how does that traumatic event impact her and her struggles with substance abuse? She don't want, that's a tough subject. That's
Right.
like I said, I didn't share my story until I got well and grown and after I had kids and all of that. Because it's
Right.
like, who's gonna believe me? And if they do, they're gonna judge me. And then, why was you in this car? Why was you, what I'm saying? Like,
And
there's
that's
so
what
many
she.
questions that people will ask while you're trying to tell your truth.
Right.
So like I said, I related to that. But the substance abuse is what people use to hold down that pain that's so heavy and so, it's hurtful,
Right.
and the substance is what, help people keep it down. So I thought that was pretty amazing with what's going on with her now, and then finding out about her life, because I did a lot of research. I spent like a couple of days doing this. When you sent me this, I was like, listen, one thing about me, I'm a research, I'm gonna be on it. So I really locked into Wendy, and I really submerged myself into her life, into her whole, finding out about her. And it was like, wow, like
Right.
these are things that don't nobody realize because they
Right.
see the surface. They see the
Mhm.
surface and all they see is messy. And they see, oh, she did, oh, she deserved
But
it. Look
what
at what
they
she
don't know
did.
what
Look at
led
how the
up to her
people,
being
all the stuff
messy.
she
Right.
ruined, all the
Right.
secrets she did, whatever. So here's the thing. So just like Nikki said, hurt people, and that's the truth. Because when you really unpack it, she was dealing with all of that inner conflict, that she was the unresolved conflict that she was refusing to address. So what people do, they
Mhm.
go and project. They want to
Mhm.
go and, oh look, it's not me, it's you. You the one got the
Mhm.
problem, because as long as I put all the attention over there.
You're right.
You're
It's
not
not me
looking over
anymore. Right.
here.
Yeah, it's
Right.
you. Right.
Yes. So I
That
can
makes sense.
clearly see that that was what she did. That was her whole MO. That was
Hmm.
her whole MO.
Because as time go and things happen in her life, like even when things started with her in her personal life with her husband and stuff, she would lie about it. she
That's what
would
I'm
she
saying.
would deny it and say, "Oh no, Kevin's not cheating on me. We're good." Because
And I
she
was
has
one
to
too. I
she
had
has
a
to
cheating ass husband, and I was doing that too. And we gonna unpack on that on the
right,
later
right.
thing too,
But she has to
because
focus on somebody else's dirt, not her own dirt, right? She has
right,
to take the attention off of her now and put it on everybody else. And she has to find out the ugliest thing about you because she, at that time in her career, this is what everybody wants to hear, dirt. No one was doing what Wendy was doing, right? So
right.
she has to bring this light to everybody and shame celebrities and bring up the messiest and ugliest part of what they're doing because she's drawing their attention. In meantime, her whole life is in shambles.
But and not only that, so she found her niche, she found, her way in. But if you can you now look at, and go in hindsight and look at how that was feeding her low self-esteem and feeding her inadequacies about her, her personality and all of that by shaming these other people like, oh yeah, look, and now, look at them. And then like the fact, I have a really problem with so I never knew that she was that pretty. She
Yeah.
was gorgeous. I did not know she done did a Little Kim. Like I didn't know. Like I'm thinking like she had those like manly features. The whole by the
Right.
time I knew, I mean I knew of her like on the radio when she was doing like that kind of stuff. But once she
Right.
started getting like on TV,
Yeah.
she already had like these, super hard cheekbones, and it was like I really. So when I met her and the way, so I only got up to her after the backlash of the celebrities. So I knew about her from the angry celebrities.
Right.
So when I was hearing about her, it was like they was talking about they're saying that she was really a man, a hermaphrodite, and all of this stuff. So I was when I look at her, I'm like,
She did all those
she's
enhancements after the
lucky.
cheating began in her marriage, right? Now, because she had to, yeah. So
Right. She had
it's
the
deep.
but that's when she started having the doing the alterations on herself.
Right.
But
Right.
when you look, it was really going on prior to that. So it was
So,
like,
because when she was on a
OMG.
radio station, she was beautiful. Like she had her hair in a ponytail, and she was natural hair, and she was beautiful, and she just looked completely different after she did all that stuff to herself.
Yes, there was the beautiful hair. And I was like, yo, this girl was beautiful. And I like her dimple because I always wanted one. I gotta
Hmm.
like make my little self-indented one. Like,
So
I
right,
learned how to do it though. Don't play with it. Look. But I was like, this girl was really pretty. She had like perfect teeth, everything. And I'm like,
everything.
wow, that's where you could tell like real self-esteem issues really run
It's
deep.
yes,
It
it
really
did.
runs deep. And it was sad to see that they started in her home.
It
And her from the people that should have protected her.
to her right
Most people have to deal with those kind of things from the outside, like
outside.
bullies and stuff
Right,
like that. So she had those too. So she had it. So I just that's why it was like, yeah, this was really
right.
something that we wanted to get on to kind of unpack the whole thing. So again, so I know that it's not we don't have time to go through the whole thing because once I really like dug deeper into it, it was
It's
like,
so much. It's so much. But we just want to
holy
give.
crap.
We're trying to give people an idea of like where it all stems from. Like it's just not
Right.
Wendy Williams that was just not wasn't she wasn't just okay. She wasn't just born to be mean, right?
Right.
Because everyone's saying this is her karma. She was messy and this. But there's a reason why she was this way, and we're trying to we're starting off letting people know who is Wendy Williams.
Right. Yeah. Um so yeah, that was that was really sad to see. Um so yeah, so trauma is often linked to coping mechanisms like substance abuse.
Hmm.
How do you think, Wendy's experiences with trauma like directly went into that? Like directly correlated to that with like I think it started from trying to fit in. Like I don't think it was like still trying to suppress anything because she said she started with like the weed. You know what I mean? So now it's like, oh, y'all smoking weed over there? Okay, I want to try. I remember when I first started smoking, like it wasn't necessarily peer pressure. It wasn't like nobody like forced me to do it. They was over there on the playground smoking and I wanted to be down. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So it was like, so I can't imagine. And I already knew who I was. I was popular. I come from the project, and then I was born in one project, and then I had family in all the other projects. So you know what I'm saying. So it wasn't an issue of like, oh, I wanted somebody to accept me or whatever. I was already in. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I think as far as the thing, I was like, I just wanted to do it. But now coming from somebody like her that's dealing with all these other stuff and not feeling like accepted, it's like, yeah, let's try it. So I
No,
can see how it went. She went further and further down the rabbit hole of the substance abuse, and it was just a sad thing. It was just a whole sad.
yeah.
And the feet. Do you know what's up with the feet?
So there's a disease, I can't remember what it's called, that she has. And that's why the feet is
I've
like
never
that.
seen anything like that.
Yeah, me either.
I was like, are they callous? Is that calluses? Or
Well,
is that
I can't
is
remember
it's
what they said it was.
it's like rhino feet or something.
Yeah, it's
It looked at like neglect or something. Like what is going on?
yeah, the whole thing,
And
like,
I had some issue with my feet, child, because I had surgery on my feet and I had muscles cut out and all of that. So I'll be serious about feet. Like
right.
when I seen that, like
Yeah, that's scary. And but she said it doesn't hurt her. She has no feeling in it. Like, it's just swollen, but yeah. And just,
mm-mm.
it's sad.
It's really
It's
sad.
almost like, where is the people that really care about her right now?
That's the thing. Like, so okay, so the sister, so is the sister of it? Do they have this strange relationship?
So that's what
They,
we need to find out, because I don't really know too much about the sister except from the
yeah,
book
I
when she
think I'm
talks
gonna.
about the sister and stuff, her upbringing. But I don't know. I know the niece. She has a niece that's
That niece was something funny, child. That niece and the one that I watched, it was like it was from a guy page, and he must have been attracted to the girl because as she was telling, and she was doing the interview, and she was like, and whatever while she was talking, and her eyes was just and she was just and he was like, look at her, she is seducing us. Like I said, yo, shut up. That niece was something. So here's the thing that I don't understand,
hmm
and I want for our viewers to kind of help me out and kind of help me find out even figure out what direction I want to go, because I'm going to do some more research and I'm going to
Okay.
bring some more back for this. But I had a couple of questions. So one of them was like, okay, so she got the niece, she got the nephew, she got the son.
The son. Yep.
Let's forget about the sister for now. We
Okay.
know that these three, the niece, the nephew, and the son,
And the
are
manager,
are in.
right?
Forget about the manager because I don't know. I got a whole thing that I want to talk about with him because that's is crazy. Um, we know that those three family members are in her life. Now,
hmm
if they're in her life, why is all of this other stuff happening? Like I know the son was like, oh, when she's in Florida versus New York, but like, okay, is it like, okay, like me, I'm down in Atlanta, but my family is up in Connecticut? Is that a matter of like, oh, when she's in New York, like, I don't care
Right.
if
Like,
my
she's on
daughter
her
is up there,
own.
like, I'm going up there too.
Right, because I guess part of the disease, she was like being like real aggressive and real rude. You
That's what
know,
causes, right? That's what,
right.
yep.
So kind of like they didn't want to deal with it. And
Now,
so,
that's what I was trying to get to. Did she
mhm.
get so, like, where they like, listen, go, let somebody else do it. Pick somebody else. Get somebody else
That's
to
what
do
I
it.
got from it. Like, they just, they don't want to, and that's sad. Like, they don't want to deal with it.
Well, I mean, they were the first ones dealing with it. So it could just be a matter of like, I don't want to deal with it no more. I'm
They're
tired of this shit. I've been
exhausted
doing
from
it
it.
all this time. You know,
Right.
that's the part that's a little like it's sad to see.
hmm
Um yeah, so like okay, so it's the family that's not
So,
doing that. And then it's like, okay, she's been in the industry all these years. She's been a public figure all of these years. She got this one friend on there that I don't know, basically looks like a bum. Um, and she don't seem like she's like, yeah, I haven't talked to her in a couple of weeks because they took her phone. So I'm like, well, what kind of friend is you? Because my friend, listen, I'm going, who, oh, they got your phone? Oh, okay, I'm on my way. Because I don't care nothing about no phone.
No, really. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, that was what I was getting. Like, who's in charge here? Like, who is really going to step up to the plate and be like, listen, no, we're not doing this. Like, even the interview, I felt like the documents, they shouldn't even did that to her, right? Not right now in this state of her mind. Like, I don't think she should
So
have went through with that.
now to the actual documentary. So here's the thing. First of all, it was a piece of shit. Like, the fact that I've been editing videos for almost a year now, my editing skills is better than that. So I'm like, who was in charge of the editing? Because like maybe they should hire me. No, but it was. You see how it was like nasty cuts. It was.
Yeah.
It was like it'll start talking about. It will start talking. Start a conversation, and then it'll cut out mid conversation. Like, hold on, you supposed to like pivot to another. You know what I mean? There's transitions that you're supposed to do. So the whole editing job was just a shit show. Then I'm sitting there like it was just like some kind of bad it was like a bad reality show. Like it should have been on Tubi or something.
Well,
You know?
because I guess before she got to the state of the sickness, she wanted to do a podcast. Like, she didn't want to well, of course, they fired her from the show was canceled, all
Right.
that. So now she's thinking, let me do a podcast. So they kind of like coached her into believing that get your story out there and tell this story, and then this will help you. This will get you on the road to this podcast. No,
Mm.
yeah,
So even looking at her condition. So here's my overall opinion on the whole thing. And as of right now, like where we are in the beginning chapter of it. Um Now you brought up like the manager thing, all of this stuff, and even the friend and all of that. I think all of these people was around when she was popping, and the money was coming pretty frequently, and she didn't have, she had access to her money, and she didn't have to like, show proof of where the funds are going and all proof of funds and shit. I think, I think the money is low.
yeah.
And that's where the benefits were for the people that claim to, you know, mess with her for real. Because I can't get paid. I even seen the driver. He was like, "Yeah, no, because in order for me to deal with a Wendy, that check need to be serious." Like I was like,
Yeah, and even Kevin, her son. So I guess before all of this, the bank froze her money and did all this stuff. He was able to just go to the bank and take whatever he want, use her credit cards, and pay for whatever he want. So now he can't do that anymore. So maybe that's probably why he like, I can't. I'm not benefiting from it. Why do I need to be a part of this whole?
right. That's the thing. So I really feel like it's financially like, you know, those are decisions because the money isn't there. And that's the
Yeah.
part that's really scary
Yeah.
because
Mhm. Mhm.
she only have the people around when the coins are coming on a normal basis. Like that's sad.
Yeah.
And then the fact that she's in this state of mind and this, and not to have no one around her was like wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, so obviously we're not gonna have time to go and do the whole thing. So I also um I want to get on her failed marriage.
Okay.
I want to talk about the failed marriage and the longevity of it and her, holding on to it for longer than needing to and putting on the front for people because I can definitely relate to that.
Right.
I stayed
Right.
I stayed in my marriage years too long. So I definitely want to get on that on another segment. And I also then want to get into these the people in her life, or the lack thereof, rather.
Right, right.
The lack of support that she has from all of these people. And I mean, the thing is, okay, she made a living off of doing what she does. It's not like, okay, let's for the people that saying, like, for karma and all of
Mm-hmm.
this, how is her health part of karma? Like, like, she was never, doing nothing messy about somebody's health. You know what I mean? Like, she wasn't going on display like, oh, this and this and that. Like, oh, they're this, was she?
Well, she talked
She
about
said,
everything.
well, I don't
I
know.
don't,
Like I
I
said,
don't even think there was nothing Wendy
she
didn't talk
didn't have
about.
nothing, no holds barred.
None. Didn't she? Who did she did broadcast somebody having cancer? Was it what's the guy that she was saying that she was dating, but
I don't think she had brought, she was talking about it, but not saying anything. Cause I
but
seen
she
it.
mentioned it before they can mention it to the public. Like before it can get out,
Oh,
because she wanted to be the first one, so that was kind of like embarrassing for
yeah,
them.
that's,
Like, you
oh,
know,
okay. Yeah,
so
that's pretty.
she talked. There's
But
nothing that she
hurt
anything.
people hurt people. Like Nikki said, hurt
Hmm.
people. And
Yeah.
we just wanted to unpack the, how why that even happens. How she's hurt. Because people can't see her as a victim either. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, they
Right.
only see her as the villain.
Whereas, right.
And when, because their feelings might be hurt or whatever, or she might have said something that offended them, or, whatever she did went against their belief system. You know how people are when they cancel you, child, they cancel you.
Right.
So I believe that probably what it was. So I thought it was a good idea to do that. I'm glad you brought this to my attention. It was like, yeah, you know what,
Yeah.
Wendy,
It's so
Wendy.
much to it, and like I said, like I think we can all relate to some part of her life. We can get something from the whole documentary and everything else that's going on.
Right. So oh, also, so we are going to touch the marriage, the failed marriage,
Definitely.
and then her grieving, because she was grieving was her mom.
Her
I
mom.
think she was grieving her mom, the failed marriage, and holding on to that, all of that. Like I said, holding on to those things, and
and
keeping
and
those
and,
secrets.
and the baby, the
The abortion, yeah. And then it was a couple of them. Then it
yeah.
was
So
a
no.
stillborn.
So her abortions on top of her husband having a baby.
Oh, that part too. Yes.
Right.
So there was a
That's a
lot
lot.
of stuff.
It's a
There was a
lot.
lot that she was dealing with and holding in, and she was dealing with in the public eye, and
Right.
having to. I remember being in a small ass town with a small ass group of people, and I thought that it was the end of the damn world,
No,
because these
really.
these handful of people knew my business, child. So
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine the public scrutiny on a larger scale like that, where it's like not just a city and not just a state, it's like the world,
And
because of your
paparazzi is following
the
him
paparazzi. And then
because they want
they're
this.
catching your,
Yeah.
then they're catching the other side, they're catching the mess over there, they're catching the husband with the girl, with them at the rendezvous, and the coming out of hotels and going grocery shopping, going
Ooh,
clothes shopping,
ooh! I
car
can't
shopping,
wait to
the
get
house
in
he
it.
bought her, all, and people love to rub the mess,
Of
and
course, because this is
they love to
somebody that's
smear it.
messy, right? So now we got some dirt on her, right? So that's what they're thinking. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So yeah, so now dealing with the years of the public, scrutiny, and then on top of that, holding all of that in, dealing with her career, and then how all of that, the traumas and all of that led to the dementia, because I did some research where studies, and found some studies where trauma and PTSD symptoms increase the risk of dementia. And it was like, wow.
But
I even
anytime
seen
you're under
I
any kind of stress, your immune system breaks down, and
it breaks
you know what I'm saying.
down.
So
Yes.
that's just she was past stress, like it was
Past
just
it. Yep. Yep. So I just like to bring to people's awareness, because it's easy to point fingers and it's easy to,
Absolutely.
cast judgment on people, and to, point out the wrongdoing that she did, but she's still a human being,
Right.
and she still deserves grace,
Right.
and compassion, because, I mean, she's dealing with this. I know I wouldn't wish what she's dealing with on no one that I love. So I can't possibly sit and be like, oh yeah, you know what? Karma, that's what you get. Like, no, I can't do that, So um it is what it is. I just wanted to break down how, all of this stuff ties together
Right.
on the grand scheme of things. So yeah, so that's I think we should probably stop right there before we get
Okay.
any further, so we can get that. So we were thinking about getting on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. So thank you guys for tuning in, watching the show. Please join us for more on the second part of the unpacking the Wendy Williams story, and the origins of the Wendy Williams story, and her childhood, and childhood traumas, and leading into adult traumas and the substance abuse and all of that stuff. So make sure you guys tune back in Wednesday night, 8 p.m., and we'll dive in deeper, and break down more of the conversation. So thank you guys so
Thank
much for
you.
joining us. And you got something you want to say?
Oh no, I'm good.
Oh no, I'm good. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Have a good night. Thanks for watching.